Cocoon Spawn Girls, Chapter 19. Sitting with the Clarinet's ridiculous threat of warning, I don't know what I want to do now. Either I continue down this rabbit hole, or I forget I ever heard it and just trust an MGI rather than some freaking spawn. I shouldn't be taking everything she says as the absolute truth. The people I should be trusting are my teammates. If I tell Tiki everything I've heard, maybe she can add some value to my understanding. I mean, she's been around long enough. Surely she'd tell me if she's ever heard of MGI abandoning entire groups before. I exit my room and head across the hall over to Tiki's door. I knock and wait for a response, but get nothing. So I knock again. Still no effect. Is she out? Yeah, she's probably going to get her arm fixed. Holly from the lab building was able to repair a chunk being taken from my leg. I bet her power can go as far as to repair a full arm. Although, I do remember her vomiting a lot to be able to repair my leg. I can't imagine the pain a whole arm would cause. Thank you for your service, Miss Holly. Well, with Tiki gone, I suppose the only other person around is Clarice. I should tell her as well. She's been around for some time as well. Besides, I want to act more like a team. That means including her. I admit my past actions do suggest she's the person I'm least close with on the team. But there isn't any reason that should be the case. I walk down the hall to the next door, knocking on the door and immediately receiving an audible reaction. There was the usual running towards the door along with stumbling sounds until the door swung open with King popping out. What is it? Sophia, my dear! How are you feeling? I fumble with my bag, pulling out my whiteboard. Clarice emerges out fully while I do, placing herself right behind where King had been held out. I'm feeling okay. Thank you. How are you two? Huh. King rubbed where his chin would be if he had one. This is a multi-level question. Physically, I feel grand. No complaints, right, Clarice? She nodded behind him. However, mentally, there was a toll taken from losing Marcia. We are both troubled by this deeply. Again, Clarice nodded frantically. It has upset me as well, I write out. I hope she's doing okay right now. Clarice sighs. King moves closer to her face, facing her. Now, Clarice, we have nothing to worry about. She went away with the Moon Whisperer, so I don't imagine we'll have anything to worry about, safety-wise. Moon Worshipper? I question, butting in. Oh, King reacts. Of course, it wasn't clear to those of you who weren't Clarice and I. Yes, that girl, I'm blanking on her name. She is certainly entangled with the moon. Clarice chirped in. She was wearing a lunar medallion. Plus, when she attacked me, she put those images of the moon in my head. I was subject to the same scary attack. I swear I was being watched. King nodded. Worshipper seemed to touch her medallion right before she attacked Clarice. I would consider this to be some form of prayer she was using. Basically, you don't need to feel too crazy. In a way, the moon really was watching you. All she really did was focus the attention and put the knowledge inside your mind. Clarice smiled. I made a, huh? Expression, which made them elaborate. It's space, you know? Like a... She fidgeted with some of her hair in her face. It's like how King is in my arm, and the moon is in space. Basically the same thing, Clarice turned her gaze to the ground, murmuring as she tried to regain her composure. King cleared his non-existent throat. She's trying to help you understand the ability. Just as Clarice has no power, but as my host I lend her my strength. Same goes for the worshiper praying to the moon to use its power. I thought this whole thing about King not being a power was just like a power fantasy thing she had going on. Are they both trying to convince me King is actually some alien king from space? I'm unsure how to respond. King waves his little fingerless arm. Forget it, Sophia. We're only meant to reassure you that Marcia will be okay. MDI will be hunting for her. But don't have yourself believing this is the end of the world. I remember what it was I wanted to say to Tiki that had me come here to talk to them. I turned my board around and began writing. Have you ever heard of MGI abandoning a whole team and project? King looked at my board, then looked up, meeting Clarice's eyes as they both looked at one another to gauge each other's reaction. Huh, was King's first reaction. Did you hear something like that from someone? Clarice asked. Yeah, I heard it from a girl named My marker was stopped before I was finished writing my response. Clarice gripped my marker as King read what I had written so far. He then nodded at Clarice. Hey, Sophia, actually, why don't you come in? Let's not talk in the doorway. Clarice grabbed onto my arm and pulled me into the room. The door closed behind me. Clarice's room is messy. Besides a flickering TV that is currently paused, there's a ton of food waste and DVD cases littering the floor. I spot on the bed there's a regular pillow lying next to a tiny pillow. The image of King getting his own pillow does amuse me. I sit down on an open spot on the floor that doesn't seem so unappealing. What's the deal? I hold out towards them. We can't just have anyone hear about you talking about that sort of topic, Clarice hissed. Super taboo, King added. Well, I'm sorry, but no one taught me about being discarded was even something MGI had ever done. Shh! Clarice hissed again, trying to place her hand over my mouth, but missing and tumbling forward. She rolled over and looked up at me. Don't be putting that negative energy into the world. Who put these ideas in your head? I begin to write out Declarina's name. King and Clarice watch me draw each letter, and at no point do they complete the name or give any sort of sound recognition. I hold the fully written name. Declarina. Clarice looks over to King, but she doesn't say anything. Yeah, never heard of them. They live under the office in a secret basement. Oh, do they? Wild. Clarice nodded. She didn't seem that shocked. Honestly, her reaction was weird, being so nonchalant about it. Not surprised? I hold up. Clarice shrugged. Well, I figured if I'd never noticed them, then they must be trapped down there. MGI having someone locked up in a secret room isn't all that surprising. Especially if I'm incorrect in assuming she's a fallen magical girl? I nodded. She can't leave due to a curse and... My marker was stopped again. Clarice released my marker. Let's get back to the main focus here, okay? So that Fallen told you about MGI abandoning the whole project? She said to be careful. They're disappointed in our loss, and they might abandon us to become Spawn to eventually fight new magical girls. Clarice and King nodded in unison. King stroked his non-existent chin. Do you trust this Declarina's information? She knew we'd have the last mission before we did, so yes. Got it, he nodded. Well, Clarice and I have encountered fallen magical girls in the small towns, which have become overrun with spawn of all sorts. The idea that NVI could be the culprit in creating these disasters has crossed our minds before. It is unfortunate to hear the theory as good as confirmed. I'm not sure we really have anything to worry about, though. Right, King? I mean, you and I are super useful. She looked over to me, bowing her head slightly. No offense, Sophia. You're great, too. But, you know... King shook his puppet body. I'm afraid we might be on the chopping block all the same. I told you the way you dress makes us unmarketable. And now we're on the brink of being let go. I wish you would listen to me more, my pupil. Clarice grit her teeth at King. Oh, I'm the one that's off-putting? It's you that's a weird alien puppet with spots. Without you, I'd be a total shy, innocent girl package. She grabbed onto King's body, squeezing him. And another thing, I seem to recall your idea of what I would be wearing as a skimpy outfit and tight bodysuits to show off my curvature. And was I wrong? King uttered as Clarice gripped his non-existent throat harder. I don't really know what to do, so I end up trying to pry them apart. Granted, what is before me isn't two people grabbing one another fighting, but a girl with her hand grabbing the other one. With more force than I expected, I was able to get Clarice to let go of King. He coughed as he caught his breath. How about we don't worry about what was said in the past, and who is super right and who is super being a bad loser, and... He paused, looking into Clarice's sharp glare. Hell, what I mean to say is we should instead focus on what to do about this abandonment issue. I nod in agreement, hoping they won't fight again. I've hidden some of my pills. I recommend that first thing. Splendid idea, King agreed. Fine, Clarice sighed. And then, what should we do? Not much I imagine can be done until they actually do it. Any helpful information about the event? King asked. Not a thing. She just said to be on guard and prepared. We all sigh. In the end, there isn't much we can really do on our own, except mentally prepare in case it truly does come to pass. I part ways with them, leaving them to their own preparations. Returning out into the hallway, I spot Tiki's door isn't fully closed. Had she just returned to her room? I rush over to the door before it closes, grabbing onto it and pulling it open. On the other side is Tiki, who turns around surprised as her door is pulled open. She had her hair tied up in two curled tails and is wearing a band t-shirt. Sophia, she said in a surprised tone. Sorry to scare, I held up. I just wanted to... I paused my next sentence. I was going to say I wanted to check on how she was doing, but staring at her as she emerged from the door, I could see that she was still missing an arm. I erased what I had written, rewriting, What happened to your arm? My arm is fine, wrapped up tight, and shouldn't be getting too infected any time soon, she smiled. I don't really know how to ask about if it's going to be healed or anything. Surely they'd want her in top condition, right? Unless they wouldn't fix something they plan to abandon. Not knowing what else to say, I just covered. Good. I just want to make sure you're doing okay. Sorry to bother you. She let out a light chuckle. Thanks, Sophia. I appreciate your concern. I smiled back, and she excused herself, going inside her room and closing the door. I returned to my room as well. There wasn't much point in worrying any further. I think I'll take a nice long bath tonight. No point in worrying about stuff that may or may not happen. Just gotta enjoy the present to the best of my ability. End of chapter 19.